guys, this is episode 8. This is the wrap-up video on the Kathy Shea series. It's been a long ride. I appreciate everyone that watched all the videos and supported the channel. Well, at the end of this video, I would like you guys to post your opinions on what exactly happened to Kathy and who may be involved. If you have any theory or any ideas or your opinions, even post them down in the comment section. I would like to hear people's opinions. Maybe we can get some kind of conversation going in the comment section. Now, I want to make another note that I believe if people would have held the police when they were having these incidents with these kidnappers, or this one particular kidnapper, whatever it may be, or if they even would have just got the word out that there was a kidnapper in the area. Hey, protect your kids, look out, there's a kidnapper, there's somebody going around trying to pick kids up. It may have kept Kathy safe, and maybe she wouldn't have been kidnapped after all. But that's all hindsight. Like, we can't really go back in time and fix that now. But present day, we have cell phones and we can make videos, take pictures anytime we feel like it in public, and I would highly recommend that people do that if something like this would ever happen again. We could certainly make us a car, model, what the man looks like, a lot of information from a picture. You know, they say picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, take a picture. I want to read a few things from my book, some of the notes that I took. And I think you will find them to be interesting, because I do. A self-styled expert on extrasensory perception, the Reverend Howard B. Burkett, Erie, Pennsylvania, came to Tyrone to volunteer his services. Okay, 3 years earlier, he was using dowsing rods, and he led police to the bodies of 2 small boys lost in a clay mine at Morgan's Run. So he had some kind of credibility for finding people. But this time, Mr. Burkett had told police to drain a soggy clay pit in Warrior's Mark, just east of Tyrone. And if you're familiar with Tyrone, you know where Warrior's Mark is. And they spent a week. It was a messy job, but turned out to be just a waste of time. Okay? So this guy was right one time, but he was wrong this time with Kathy. Tyrone Police Chief Richard T. Fink believes that Kathy is certainly deceased. Now, he was working on this case back in the 60s with, Fred Leamer. Richard Fink and Fred Leamer were working together, and this was 1967, where I'm reading this excerpt. Tyrone Police Chief Richard T. Fink believes that Kathy is certainly deceased. What bothers a lot of people around here is that we are fairly certain that Kathy's abductor not only used the car, but must have known her and her family. I always thought that the whole time. This guy had some kind of connection to her, but I didn't know in what way, in what capacity. I thought maybe he was a disgruntled ex-employee where he wanted to get vengeance, and he decided to go after one of the Shea's children or grandchildren. Back to Richard T. Fink, the Tyrone Police Chief at the time. We know that a man in a car stopped a schoolboy, remember James, the day before, and he had asked if she had come by yet. This is no random thing. He knew who he was after, and he knew her route, and he knew what time she left for school. Yeah, he knew. Somehow, some way, he knew. And Police Chief Fink believes that he knew the family. But it's odd that when the sketch was made, nobody could identify the man. Okay? But before I continue with this, I did my research, and I'll have to go back a few pages. And the accuracy of a hand-drawn sketch is about 9%. Some studies have it even lower, at 8%. Eyewitnesses are often wrong, and only 30% of respondents believe that a sketch accurately describes a photo of an individual. The accuracy of the sketch will determine if we can identify the man, because that's all we have to go by. Now, if we're saying, hey, do you know this person, and it doesn't accurately describe the man, we're not going to find the man. You're not going to find him. It has to be accurate. All right, back to Richard T. Fink, the Tyrone Police Chief. We also know that the car was covered in mud. And there's only one place around here where that kind of mud comes from. Mr. Fink declined to elaborate on the matter of the mud. Unfortunately, we do not know the make or year of the car, and we don't have a license number. The patrol boys thought it was a two-door model, and the man was deeply tanned, around 50. He looked like he needed a shave. Is this the same man that the woman that was walking from the high school encountered? Is it the same man? He hasn't been eliminated as being the same man that may have kidnapped Kathy Shea, and most likely is the man that kidnapped Kathy. Okay. People around here are pretty jittery, and there has been all sorts of reports of men trying to get small kids into their cars. Since this happened, none are successful. So, since this happened, people felt like they could get away with doing something like this. Was it the same man that kept trying to do this? There's no reports of that. It's different people getting bold. Let's try this. Let's try this. But like I said, none of them were successful. Okay, kids weren't getting into cars. If you wanted someone to get into your car, you had to force them. Okay, it wasn't happening. We seem to have a lot more molesters and deviants than most small towns, and we have had hundreds of reports of prowlers and obscene phone calls and that sort of thing. It's strange. I'm pretty familiar with Tyrone, and I can say from personal knowledge that this is indeed true. This is indeed true, even to this day. Even to this day. And these facts and this information is coming from the Times Tribune, July 2nd, 1967. Okay. They did a very good article on this. The horrible thing is that everyone knows it was somebody familiar with the town. You've seen that school. It's way off the main street, and it's hard to find. This man knew exactly what he was doing, and I will bet it's someone that still lives here, or used to live here, and that's what makes it so frustrating. They weren't able to identify the man and arrest him, or question him even. We just don't know why the Shays didn't have any enemies, and they've lived here all their lives. Maybe some new maybe some new publicity will help. You listen to what she said. He sat in that alley and he waited and he waited and he waited. He circled her several times. He was stalking the young girl. And then when she went down the alley running, he went down the alley and said, "Run, you little bitch." Okay, this guy obviously wanted her, and he was pissed that he didn't get her. Okay? And all the reports at the time were a man trying to get a girl, a young girl. This is probably, in this case, in this situation, she was probably the oldest girl that the man tried to get that we know of. All the other ones were under the age of 10, especially with Cassie being 6. But they weren't falling for it, and yeah, in my opinion, my educated opinion, I believe, take it for what it's worth, that it's more than likely the same man that kidnapped Kathy, that tried to kidnap this young girl walking from the high school. So, from what we know about him, he's persistent. He's got stalker written all over him, just like with Kathy. He was stalking Kathy for a while. He was stalking this girl for a period of time, round and around and around and around. You know, like a shark smelling blood. He wanted to go and he wanted to attack, and she created enough space between the two of them where he wasn't able to feel confident enough to pounce. But with Kathy Shea, I believe he closed the distance well enough where he could just grab her, which is what I think he did. She wouldn't have gotten into the car. The Shays even mentioned, and I haven't mentioned this yet, but it should be pretty common knowledge that the Shays did drill into Kathy about getting into people's cars. Because I noticed some people say, well, why did they let her walk by herself? You know, they shouldn't have trusted her. Well, they drilled into her not to get into people's cars, and they trusted her that she wouldn't, not knowing that somebody was aggressive enough that they would actually take her against their own will. Okay? Which is what happened in this case. Absolutely, I believe 100% that she did not willingly get into a vehicle. I think that she was forced one way or the other. We can't exactly narrow it down to what exactly happened, but this is, like I said, this is my opinion. I believe that she was forced into a vehicle. Hey guys, I wanted to let you know that during our spirit walk, which I didn't release and I wasn't even going to talk about, but I feel like it may be relevant to some of my viewers that may be interested in the paranormal. Okay. We did a spirit walk and we tried to contact the spirit of Kathy Shea. And during that walk, before I get into, let me take a step back. We didn't know the route that Kathy Shea took, and we really weren't familiar with that part of Tyrone. We were more familiar with Pennsylvania Avenue, which is a little bit down the road. So this neck of the woods was an unfamiliar part of town. So we were trying to find Garfield Street. It can get a little tricky because Garfield Street comes in before 17th Street. So we were like getting confused because we didn't know the layout. But Anyway, the female that I was with, that was on the team, kept having a panic attack. We would be walking down one of the streets, and she would have a panic attack. And I walked up to her and I questioned, what was going on. And she said that she was having a panic attack. And she said she will be fine. And she started walking down to the same spot where she had the panic attack. She would have a panic attack there, and then she would walk back where she could finally catch her breath. And we did find out, when I asked her again what happened, what's going on, and she said, I feel like I'm being put into the trunk of a car. Not knowing that we were on Garfield Street. Now, what does this mean? Does it mean that Kathy Shea was put into a trunk of a car and she was kidnapped? Or does it have no significance whatsoever? You tell me.
The investigator complained that she had pain between her shoulder blades, pain accompanied by anxiety. Was it Kathy's static energy that the investigator was feeling? Kathy may have been struck. Maybe she was winded, therefore, she couldn't scream. Or was it because she was tossed into the trunk, and it hurt her back? No one knows for sure, but it does make sense to us. We don't believe that Kathy willingly got into that vehicle. Let us know what your opinions are. We welcome different perspectives.
So, who kidnapped Kathy Ann Shea? Was it Norman, the uncle? Or was it Jim Foose, the man in the alley? Or was it an unknown? Now, I think we can eliminate Jim Foose as being merely just a pervert that lived on Kathy's route. He had no links to Kathy that we know of. Norman, although he had morals crimes and other crimes, he had no link to Kathy's disappearance. He was ruled out. And the only reason I looked into him is because people in the community believed that he had something to do with it and he should be looked at again. But there's no links to him and Kathy as far as her disappearance goes, which leaves the man in the sketch, which we all believed for the most part that he is the man responsible for Kathy's disappearance. So after all is said and done, the man in the sketch is responsible for the disappearance of Kathy Ann Shea and more than likely the murderer of Kathy Ann Shea. Unfortunately, that's the most likely of scenarios. Thanks for watching this series on what happened to Kathy Ann Shea, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Stay safe out there.
Yeah, my mother did.
Your mother?
Yeah, my mother she put my my coat in the burning barrel and bought me a different coat.
The last person to see her was a crossing guard. He was a retired railroad. Helped the kids across up North Avenue on 15th Street. He was the last person to see her.
Remember, oh, I don't like this man, and I just got away from him. But he lived in that alley where Kathy disappeared.
Look at him. I was, no, I don't,
You say he circled you several times?
Oh, yes. He stopped twice, and I'm going to say at least 4 times he went around, and possibly a 5th. Yeah. He just kept, he didn't leave. He just kept circling me. He was definitely trying to get me.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.